Hi everyone, I'm Tristan. I've got my cup of coffee today. Why do I need this coffee? Because we are going to look at two difficult TOEIC questions, and I'm going to show you how you can actually easily get the answer. So before we start, please share, like, subscribe. But what are we waiting for? Let's look at how to answer two difficult TOEIC questions. Here is the first. Now, this question requires some key vocabulary. Let's look at the word tenant, where it says instead of blank, a full-time tenant. A tenant is a person who rents a house, apartment, office, etc. So here's the situation. You own an apartment in Tokyo, but you get a job in Bangkok for a year. Your apartment will be empty. You decide to rent out your apartment to an old friend. Your old friend is now your tenant. You are the landlord. And let's look at a couple of headlines from World News. It says, Toronto tenants call out controversial landlord amid 4-month-long rent strike. So these people are challenging this landlord. The people who live there, the tenants, are challenging them. Or South Korea Villa King landlord dies without paying tenants' deposits. That sounds terrible. That's bad news. Okay, so now that we know that key vocabulary, this will help us later on. Let's start eliminating answers. First, get rid of be. Look is an intransitive verb. This means it cannot have a direct object. This is wrong. I looked my friend. Correct, I looked for or at my friend. You can see there is no preposition. There's no at, there's no for, there's no in, there's no preposition before a full-time tenant, so we cannot use be, looking. Next, remove D, install. Install means to put a piece of equipment somewhere and make it ready to use. An example, because of the accident, my wife and I decided it would be a good idea to install a new toilet in our apartment. So a tenant is not a piece of equipment. You cannot install a tenant. You cannot install a human. You could install a computer chip in a human's brain. Hello, Elon Musk. But you cannot install a person. So now we have provide and seek. Well, we have to understand the idea. If you want a tenant, so someone to rent your space, you usually need to advertise. Therefore, you are looking for a tenant. What is another way to say look for? Seek. The verb forms are seek, sought, sought. So if I say I am looking for employment, another way, I am seeking employment. Notice there is no for after seek. So the answer is A, seeking. Let's go to the next TOEIC question. All right, we can mostly use grammar to get the answer, but there's some important vocab as well. Let's look at two key vocabulary. The first is when it says by the scandal. Now, scandal is an event, action, and it causes the people in society to become angry and shocked. For example, it was a scandal when people discovered the company had tested chemicals on its workers. Terrible company. Or it was a political scandal when there was a video of the president using cocaine. Which country was this? Now, what is the adjective for scandal? Scandalous. The next word is when it says, since the documentary on the abuse. What is abuse? Well, in this form, it's a noun. It is horrible treatment of someone for a period of time. It is common to say someone suffered or experienced abuse. And what are common types of abuse? Physical, sexual, verbal, emotional abuse. Here's an example. The media reported that children had suffered sexual abuse at the school. This was a major scandal in the country. So you hear my pronunciation, abuse, That is the noun. The verb is abuse. This is to treat someone in a terrible way for a long time. So now we know the vocabulary, but I have some better news. You do not really need to know most of this vocabulary to get the answer. So let's start eliminating wrong answers. You can see our main clause is the record company blank by the scandal. Then we have an adverb clause where it says, since the documentary on the abuse was released 6 months ago. Well, when you use since to talk about time, the main clause is present perfect or present perfect continuous 99% of the time. An example, since the movie was released, it has sold 5 million tickets. It is usually wrong to say, since the movie was released, it sold 5 million tickets. Because when you are using since, the main clause is saying from the past until now. Another example, since 1990, the population of the country has declined. Now, we are talking about since related to time. It is different if we use since to mean because. If I said I went to bed early since I was so tired, this is a reason. It is not related to time. So I do not need present perfect. But if I say I have been going to bed early since I got my job, this is when going to bed early started. For this Toeic question, it is talking about time. We are saying when the main clause started. Therefore, we need present perfect. So we can eliminate A. If it said had been faced, it would be correct. Now, to get the rest of the answers or to eliminate the rest, we need to think about passive voice. A key word is the record company blank by the scandal. This is a signal that the main clause is passive voice. And when I use passive voice, I need a be verb, such as is, was, has been, is being, and I need a past participle adjective. A past participle verb. For example, shake, shook, shaken. Watch, watched, watched. So we can see that we are looking for passive voice. So eliminate C, has troubled. This is not passive. This is active voice. For example, the scandal has troubled the company since the documentary. If it's passive, the company has been troubled by the scandal. So we do not have passive voice with has troubled, so remove C. Next, eliminate B, has been shocking. We have a be verb in has been, but we don't have a past participle verb. If it says has been shocked, that would be passive. Has been shocking is not passive voice because it is not ed. It is just active. So the answer is D. Plague can be a verb or a noun. As a verb, plague means to give someone problems, pain for a long time. An example, drug addiction has plagued the community since the main employer shut down. If I make this passive, the community has been plagued by drug addiction since the main employer shut down. So in this Toeic question, we know we need present perfect and we know we need passive voice. The active sentence would be the scandal has plagued the record company since. In passive, I'm starting with the object. So the record company, now I'm using passive, has been plagued. It is passive, it is present perfect, it is correct. So the answer is D. Thanks for joining me today. I definitely needed this coffee for this lesson. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions or comments, please write them below. And good luck with TOEIC English. Have a wonderful day. Bye.